Hello, Photoshop Senior Edition, folks. Just shortly before Mother's Day, I created an image that I wanted to put on Facebook dedicated to all the moms that were on my friends page. So I thought I would recreate that to hopefully give you some ideas. I just opened Photoshop and clicked on the new, and one of my custom blanks here is 640 by 480, which is what I like to use for Facebook, and it is 300 pixels per inch. I reduce it to 72 when I'm ready to post it. So I want this on black, and just for starters, it really doesn't make a lot of difference, but I'm just going to click on create. So now we have our blank slate, so to speak. And I thought I ought to post it on here just so you could see where we're going with this. And you notice it's a kind of a dark gray image, and I turned it to that later on. You can turn it to obviously any color you want. There are a lot of steps involved in this. If you look at the text, for example, you'll see that there are, and this is low quality, this is actually the one that I put on Facebook, you'll see that there are strokes on the text of white here and there, and those are all done by hand on the text after the text was made. So all of it has some strokes, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And you'll notice here is the image size. It's 640 by 480, but I did change it to 72. And you'll notice in the middle there is a heart shape there. And of course this would have been appropriate for Valentine's Day too, but I'm going to show you the steps first of all for creating the heart shape. So let's just switch over here again. And what I did was go over to the special tools, and these are vector graphic tools. You normally will see the star over here. And what we want is the custom shape tool. And we click up here where the shape is. You notice the heart is still there. If you click on that, you may not have all of these particular shapes in there, but right here is the little gear, and right here it shows you all of the things that you can add, and you can put them all in at once if you want to. And of course there are websites all over the place that offer these vector graphics free. You just have to be careful. On some of these sites they have some things that you wouldn't want on your computer that might infect it. So you got to be careful about the sites you go to. Anyway, we're going to use this heart. So right here is the heart next to the diamond and so forth. So let's just click up here in the title, and we can click and drag this into any size we want. And I'm running out of space and I need it more to the left. So all I have to do is hold down, don't let go of it with your left mouse button down. Hold down your space bar, and then you can shove the shape around on the screen wherever you want it. Now this is going to create a separate layer, so it's not like you've done anything to damage. Okay, what I'm going to do now is control and click in there to turn that into marching ants, and I'm actually going to create a new layer. Just click on the new layer icon down here, and I'm going to fill this with whatever color we want. White would be fine. I happen to have pink and red on top. Don't remember where those came from, but I'm going to fill it with that top color. So hold down the Alt or Option key and hit Backspace, and it fills it with that color. Now I'm just going to go and get rid of shape 1. We just highlight it, click on the little trash can, it goes away. To turn off the marching ants, we just do a Control or Command D as in dog or delta, And now we just have a heart shape on top of the black. Okay, so to make the butterflies, we're going to go into the brushes. So click on the brush tool or press the letter B for brush. And we'll go up here and click on the tool itself. And in here somewhere is the butterfly. Again, if you don't see the butterfly listed in your different brush shapes, go up here, click on the gear. Now, you don't see an all in this one, so you're having to go through all of these to find, and I think it was special effects that the butterfly's in. I won't swear to that, but right here it's number 29. And so if I click up here in the title bar and come over here, that's not the, yeah, it is the butterfly. And what it's doing is a variation between all of these colors, and it's randomized and everything else. So let's do a Control Z. I want this to be on its own layer, so I'm going to create a new layer and call it small butterfly. And I'm going to go into my editor, click up here on this little folder that's next to that brush, and you can actually go up here to window if you don't see that and click on brush, and you'll get this. And you see the pattern that we have right now. Yours probably will not look like that. We're just going to click on these things, turn it all off. So we can kind of start from scratch. The spacing would normally be all the way to the left. So we want to change a lot of this. We're going to keep this where it is for right now. We're going to go to Shape Dynamics and click right on the words. That'll check that box. And we just want to click on all of these jitters, and we don't want it all the way over on any of these, but I usually just put them somewhere close to the middle. Then we're going to go and click on the word scattering, and again I'm going to click on here. Actually, on count I usually use it at 1, and then the count jitter will move it over into the middle. And then let's go back to the brush tip shape and look at the spacing now. So you can see that we can scatter that out with spacing pretty good. Now we want color also, so I'm just going to click on Color Dynamics, and here's where all the color variations happen. So you can click on U jitter, and I don't go as high with these as I do with the other ones. And let's go back to scattering real quick and check on where it says both axes, because we want this to rotate on the X and Y axis as we go. So the butterflies will turn and so forth. Now we don't want them that scattered out, because otherwise you try to make a pattern in a heart shape like this, and it's a little bit more problematic. Now on this first set of butterflies, we're going to keep it like the original, and we just want them to be red. So we're going to go back and actually turn the color dynamics off. Now remember that let me move this out of the way for just a second. Remember that this is on its own layer. So to get rid of all the butterflies we did already, we can just do a Control A to select the whole, everything that's on that layer, which is right here, the small butterflies, and we can just hit Backspace. So we can, paint on that layer. You see we're painting with the same color now because I turned off the dynamics. We can just hit Backspace and get rid of those. So you can play all you want to on that layer with the butterflies, but if you hit Backspace, you totally whack them out of there. So now I remember, I guess this color is still set from when I did this, and I've used Photoshop a lot since then, but we'll go to where it says red, and now when we paint, we've got a nice selection of really red butterfly shapes. Cool. We hit backspace, and we don't want them spaced out still yet that much. So let's go back to our main brush, and I moved that off the screen. We will go to the tip shapes, and we'll turn the size down a little bit, make them a little bit smaller, and we'll bring the spacing in a little tighter. So let's see what that looks like. So they're still pretty scattered. So backspace again, we're going to go over to scattering, and we're going to move that in tighter like that. So we've got a lot more of them. They're closer together. Let's go a little bit more. That's going to be a little bit better. Okay, so backspace to get rid of all that. Back to the tip shape, and we're going to space those out again. So now we drag that. You can see, and all I'm using the heart for is a pattern to draw this around with. So now if I let's move that again. If I turn the heart off, you can kind of see the shape of it, and you can click once, twice in some of these areas to fill that in. Don't drag it, because then it'll paint a lot of them. They're still going to be random, so you can just kind of round those corners off. Notice when I do that, some of them are smaller, larger, rotated different directions, and so forth. I'm going to do a Control Z to turn that off. And let's go down a little bit right in there to make that shape. So let's do this. Let's change the color here instead so we can see shadowing. So I'm going to do a D to get the default colors down here at the bottom of the toolbar, and I'm going to fill this with white. And to do that, I'll just hold down my Control key and hit backspace. So now we can see, maybe, whoops, see I got rid of that color. Let's click on the black, and I'm going to sample that red back in here. So when I drag the cursor out, I can now sample that color, and I've got that color back. So we can, and that's a lot lighter. So a little bit color variation. So let's get back over here, and I wanted to make a little kind of a sharper tip down in here. Kind of mess that up a little bit. So let's erase that. There we go. If we don't want that one out there, we can erase that too. I'm on the wrong layer, so that really doesn't help at all, does it? Need to be up there. And we can just trim the fat, so to speak. Alright, well, let's say that it's a little bit heavy on this side. So let's just redo that, because it doesn't take very long to do that, right? So we're on the right layer to get rid of it. We'll just hit backspace again. And this stuff I made down here by mistake, we'll fill this layer again with white. Control backspace. So it's always good to pay attention what layer you're on. Let's turn the heart back on. Excuse me. And we'll go back to the brush, and we'll go to the editor again, just so we can see what we got going on here. So maybe make those a little less spaced. Make sure we're on the right layer, and we are. Okay, let's go again. And I don't like how much it jumped right there. So I'm going to hit backspace again and go to the scattering. And I'm going to bring them a little tighter. And maybe jitter that a little bit more. Now let's try it again. Now they're really tight. I didn't follow along the pattern that well, did I? So let's turn the heart off. And doggone it, I didn't recreate that layer. So I messed up again. Okay, let's try the Control-Alt-Z a couple of times here and recreate that layer. Goodness. Alright, here we go. And sometimes having better control of the mouse is helpful too. There we go, around there. Now let's turn the heart off. Okay, those are a little bit better. Kind of thick right in here, so let's go back to spacing after I hit backspace and get rid of those. Actually, I got rid of the layer too because I didn't have my marching ants up there. So let's go click on the editor and let's get back over here to the tip shapes, and let's space those out a little bit more. Make sure we're on the right layer, and here we go again. It's great to have this stuff on its own layer because it's so easy to jettison that layer if we need to. Now, you may be thinking, wow, this is really small. Well, we're going to make another layer with larger butterflies too. So we're going to say that's just fine and dandy, okay? So let's put a little drop shadow on there. Let's go to the FX down here, at the bottom of the layers palette. And you can't see it, but we're hitting drop shadow. And wow, that's huge. So we're going to bring all of these way in. And we don't want it to be especially hard either. Let's go down around 3 on each one of these and see what we get. Alright, let's spread it a little bit by going into the image and just look and see what the pattern looks like. Okay, we're going to say that's just fine. I'm going to click OK. And now I'm going to create another blank layer. And I'm going to make my butterflies bigger. And remember, we can control the brush size with the bracket keys that are located up by the letter P on your keyboard. And I'm going to hit the right bracket key a couple of times, 3 times. And I'm going to turn my heart back on again so we can kind of keep the pattern here. And these may be too big, but trial and error. The thing is, we want these to have their own drop shadow. So let's put another drop shadow down. And we can, move that one also. It doesn't have to be exactly the same place. And remember, those are on their own layer, so we could make the drop shadow on there more pronounced if we want to. We have control. Okay, now looking back over to this image again, let's put a few of these butterflies in here. And to do that, notice that they're some are a little lighter than others. So let's go back over here. And we're going to go and flip that. Just hit that little arrow, or you can press the letter X as in X-ray, and I'm going to click on white, and I'm going to sample the color that's there, so it's right here, and I'm going to make that color a little less dark red. Okay, so if I click here and drag, obviously we're going to get a bunch of them, and they're the same density. So Control-Alt-Z to undo that. Let's make another layer, and we'll call these big, medium, and small. So we know where we are at any given time. Alright, let's bring the brush editor back up, click that, and we're going to go to Shape Dynamics and take a look, and let's we're not going to worry about the number, so we're going to just take the count all the way down there. Scattering, Shape Dynamics here. I like the settings there. Let's go here on spacing. Now we need to go to Color Dynamics. We want to keep the change between these small. So let's take the saturation jitter quite a ways down, also the hue jitter, and let's just see what we get. See the variations that are there. Kind of a dramatic shift in that. So I'm going to hit Backspace to get rid of those. And I'm just going to turn the saturation pretty much off there. So those are a lot closer in color. Backspace. Let's turn the brightness up and turn the purity up. Let's turn the purity down. I think that's more closer to the colors we need. So let's just go with that. I'm going to hit Backspace. Whoops. Let me get the brush that way and see what it did. Control-Alt-Z to bring that back. I took away a lot of stuff. Control-Alt-Z to get back to here. And what we need to do is the Control-A again. Because what I'm hitting Backspace without those marching ants on, it's killing the entire layer. Just throwing it in the trash. So now I hit it with the marching ants on, it just gets rid of the stuff on that layer. Alright, let's try it. We're just going to click here and there. We're not getting the really big butterflies, so we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Right bracket key and click. So we still have quite a bit of variation in there. So I'm going to hit Backspace again and bring up the brushes again to, make sure we get control here. It's about the color dynamics in this particular situation. So let's bring the purity down some more. And now it's getting a little bit in there. Let's try it in here. That's a little bit better. And we want to change the size more, I think, here. So let's change the roundness, and let's change the angle a little bit, and we'll really run that size up. So again, let's go make sure we're on the right thing, hit Backspace, and let's try a few here. I don't really want one in there, I don't think. Now if they're all too big or all too small, obviously you can use the bracket key to make it smaller. Alright, I don't care for a couple of these colors in here, so I'm going to turn on the eraser tool and make that brush a little bit bigger with the right bracket key and just whack the ones I don't really like. So these are a little bit darker than I want. Turn the brush back on. Let's try down here again. I'm going to hit the eraser again. Brush, letter B. Alright, I don't want that one in the middle really, so I'm going to turn on the eraser again. Get rid of that one. Let's just check back here. We had one in the middle there, so we can do that again. Brush again. Alright, so again, do we have a drop shadow on these? Yeah, we do. So let's put a drop shadow on these. So FX, drop shadow. And these can be harder, softer, whatever you want to do. Again, we can move those around wherever we want. And make those a little harder. Right, we're ready, I think, now to go ahead and put some text on here. So we can, make this Valentine's Day or whatever. In this case, we're just going to recreate the Happy Mother's Day. So I'm going to click on text. You can just press the letter T if you want. And I'm going to click and drag out a text box. And type in Happy, enter, Mother's, enter, Day. Now, we can click and drag to select that all, or all of that. Or we can double click on the T to select all the text. Then we need to go up, and if we select the text here also, so this is highlighted, this is highlighted. If we use our arrow keys on the keyboard, right arrow, we can, let's do the left arrow. It's not cooperating, is it? Let's just go down here and see if we can find something that looks pretty cool. That doesn't. Let's just run it on down. Looking for something that's really got a nice script look, and that's not bad. Whatever font you want to use, let's go up here. We need to change the spacing on here. We need to get that nice and spaced out. So we can try auto. That doesn't look bad at all. So let's close that back up, and I'm going to hit, we can either hit the tick mark here, we can hit the move tool to complete the text, or we can click in the image and that also kind of turns that off. Now this case it really didn't do exactly what I want. I'm going to hit the move tool, and now I can hit Control T or click Control T, and I'm just going to drag this, hold down the shift key, and we can make this much bigger. Let's do a control minus or command minus on a Mac, and then just kind of reshape this however we want it to look. And this is going to be obviously over the top of everything. And we'll just hit the move tool and apply. Alright, so let's take a look at what we've got over here. We've got a drop shadow on this as well. So let's go back over and click on the FX, and I'll go down to drop shadow, and we won't even monkey with that right this second. We'll just hit OK. There's one thing I want to do with the text. I'm going to double click the T, and there is no bold on this particular one. So if we click on the little editor here, make sure this T right here is checked. Notice the difference in how much thicker that is if that's on there. Now you don't have to make it thick. I just like it to be thicker for special things like this. And again, if you're not happy with that text, if you want to go something fancier, you just, if you've got it in your font list, you can go on down and see if you can find something that works even better. You see, that's quite a bit different. And I don't remember now which one I actually used, but we're going to go ahead and go with this to save some time. Okay, so let's change the color of the background to give it a little more contrast and something that really works with those particular colors. So click on the background, and I'm going to go down to the color picker and just find a nice gray. Now, it's easy to change this if we don't like it. Since it's the foreground color, we just hold down the Alt or Option key on a Mac and hit Backspace, and there are the colors that we want. If you want to, at this point, you can just throw the heart completely away. Just hit the trash can, because it's taken up one of the layers, and we don't need that anymore. Okay, let's make that darker, because I think we want a little more contrast in there. So let's go to the color picker again, click it, and let's go to something a little darker. And make sure you're on the background layer, Alt or Option, and let's make that Control 0. Let's make it bigger. I'm not real crazy about this font compared to the one that I used over here. It will still be okay to do our little trick with the putting the white on the edges, and we're not going to take the time to do tons of that because it would make this video about an hour and a half long. No, not really, not that long. I still want to go darker with the background, so let's go down here and Alt or Option. I think that's much better. Now, you can also go back and revisit your drop shadows that are on anything in here. For example, the big butterflies, if I double click the drop shadow there, we can go in here and drag those, whoops, on the wrong layer again. Big butterflies, double click the drop shadows, and we can drag those out, make them less harsh, you know, really take that down, or we can make them pretty hard. Totally up to you. And again, if there are too many butterflies out in the perimeter outside of the heart, you can erase them. That's the nice thing about them being on their own layer. So let's see about putting the white stroke, because it helps make the text really jump out more. Okay, so let's go up to the text, and I'm going to hold down my Control key, Command key on a Mac, and click right on that T. So we got a nice highlight there, or marching ants around where we're going to highlight, because we don't want to put the highlights on the background. We just want it on the actual text. So I'm going to create another layer, and this can be called highlights. Didn't really mean for that to have the caps lock on. Happens to me all the time. Let's hide the marching ants. So let's do a Control H. They're still there. We can only paint. Let's turn paintbrush on. Let's get the default colors. So we press the letter D as in Delta. We want white on top, so press X. X is in X-ray, so we can toggle those colors. Now we need to get a normal brush because we don't want to paint white with butterflies. So let's click on the butterfly. Let's go over here for a soft brush, and let's go up here and click on the editor so we can make sure we don't have anything turned on here. We want to just have the spacing all the way to the left. Transfer's fine. We'll just move that out of the way. The brush is huge, and we're going to make it much smaller, and we're going to zoom in and begin so you can get the idea of what we're going to do. So we're just going to paint along some of these edges. You don't have to do all of the edges. And see, we're not laying down paint anywhere else because the only thing we have highlighted is the text. I'm not taking near as much time as I did on the original layer. Remember, if we don't like that, we can do a Control Z, Control Alt Z a couple of times to get rid of that, or we can turn on the eraser because this is on its own layer. We're not going to hurt anything else. And you can put some back here if you want. All of this will just make your text stand out a lot more. And it can be pretty as well. It's up to you to decide how much of that you actually want to add. So let's do a Control 0 to see. Now you can see that the text is really jumping off there a lot more now. Just add some hints of it here and there. Maybe, whoops, that's a little big. Let's zoom back in. It's never safe to zoom out and do small work. Okay, let's just put a little bit down here and maybe a little bit in there. And I will go ahead and pause this for a few minutes and paint some more. Okay, and we're down here on the last word on day, obviously. So let's just remember that because we have this selected with the marching ants on, it's not going to paint anywhere but on the letters themselves. Remember, if I do a Control H, the marching ants come right back on. They're always there. We're just hiding them. So you're not going to damage anything on the rest of your image. Let's do a Control Z there and make that a little nicer. And it's up to you how much white you want to put on these letters, how much trouble you're going to go to. It's really not hard to do, and it really can look cool. Really makes the text stand out a lot. And just click in there a little bit and run that up and let it just kind of disappear as we go up. And let's go down this a little bit. Just add a hint there, and let's do a Control 0 so you can see the whole thing. Now, if you want to, you can make that drop shadow harder. So here's our Happy Mother's Day. So we can double click on the drop shadow, and let's move that over a little bit so we can see. And you can bring that drop shadow out a little bit more. You can run the opacity up to make it really dark, and it'll separate things a little bit more, give it more depth in the image. So we'll click OK, and it looks a whole lot better already. And we can still go darker with the background if we want to. So let's go down to the background. I always tweak, don't I? Just tweak, tweak, tweak. So let's just click on the white, and let's go sample the background that we have right now, and let's go down here. We're getting pretty dark now. So let's do a Alt or Option and Backspace. And forgot we have the marching ants still turned on. So if you saw that just then, Let me do that again. Alt, Backspace. If you look in here, it actually has Happy Mother's Day dark. So Control Alt Z to get back, and I'm going to turn the marching ants off with a Control D, as in Control Delta. Alright, now I can make the background darker if I want to. Now another way, obviously, to make the background darker and not just keep guessing at how dark we want it, we can go and click on our little yin-yang symbol, but I like to go up here to the adjustments that are up here. If you don't see those, just go to Window, Adjustments, and you'll get this nice dealy bopper right here. I'm just going to go to the Levels Adjustment, and in Levels Adjustment I'm going to hopefully get on the right layer. Let me just trash that for a second, make sure, yep, I am on the right layer. So let's get the levels, and we're going to bring this left side down, or to the right, I guess, and just move that, or just X that out. It's permanently right here over the background, so if we still would like it darker, double click on that and we can bring it down even more. I think you can see the depth now that we've created in the image. Remember, the little butterflies are down there, so if we want to make the drop shadow on them a little harder, let's just click and see where they are. So let's just make them a little darker. That's going to create some more depth in the image. Then we're going to go to the medium and drop shadow, move that out there, see the bigger drop shadow, and let's just click OK. So now the drop shadows have really created a lot more depth. If you post this on Facebook or something like this, and you look at it for a few minutes when it's on its own background like this, you can see it's got a 3D effect to it. I'm going to still make this a little bit darker, just I don't want it black. And there we go. So we can still go, all these butterflies are on their own layer. We can erase some of them if we want to. We can tweak it. You saw how we went as we built this thing up. Now think in terms of other holidays, you can use something besides butterflies. We've got leaves in there, so if we go back over here and click on our shape tool here, we have lightning, we have sun, four-leaf clover, snowflakes. So there's lots of things that you can use in here for, to build up a Christmas card or a Veterans Day card. Just all get well cards. All kinds of ideas can come from here. And again, like I said, there are a lot of sites out there that offer these vector graphics. Now here's some leaves over here that you can also build things with. Now the difference between vector graphic, this text is a vector graphic. I can change this text, make it thicker, make it much larger, and it still will look good. If we just have a raster graphic, which is like a regular photograph, and we enlarge it a lot, it starts falling apart. Vector graphics don't, raster graphics do. Now, a lot of things we can do with text that are vector graphics, and so are these, where the butterflies were created. Actually, yeah, they were created using the brush tool, so they're not vector. If we make them very large, they'll start falling apart. But the heart we created was vector, and we could have made it 3 feet large, and it would have looked just as good as it did at 1 inch. So vector is really a great way to go on things. but we can't always do that. With photographic, it can't be a vector. So at this time we need to go and get it ready to go on Facebook. So we go to image size, and we change this to 72. We still want this to be 640, and we want to say preserve. Actually, we want this to be bicubic sharper reduction. We're going the other way with this. We changed it from 300 to 72, so we're reducing it, and we want to keep the quality as good as we can. So then I go up and I do a file, export, save for web. Then we get this huge box, and it's hard for me to fit it all on here. But we choose whichever one of these we want to use. We want to blow things up or make them larger, Control plus, and look at, here's the original, and you see how much we've lost here in this. So we need to take the quality up till it starts looking really nice, and that looks a whole lot better. It's still only 52K, which is tiny. Facebook won't cough at all if you use something that's that size. You can go up a little bit further, and that's still even better. You can see down here where these are much smaller and they have fallen apart pretty bad. They're pixelated. This looks nice. So then you just go down to the bottom and hit save, and you're excuse me, I'm losing my voice and I don't know why. We just save this and put it on the desktop or wherever we want so we can upload. So hopefully this gives you all the information you need to create things like this. We've done other cards before. This is a little bit different, and hopefully it's helpful to you. Okay, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Bye for now.